Little Rock. Good old Sizzler was by no means an ordinary pirate. He was often trotting along the main deck, walking in circles for hours at a time, and muttering to himself as he examined the strong oak that held the ship together. Sometimes the other pirates shook their heads, wondering why he spent minutes on end staring at the silverware in the galley without saying a word. Sizzler at one time even claimed that he was a prisoner of the sea and locked himself in the brig just to experience what it feels like to be imprisoned within a physical prison. As you can imagine, more than one pirate used Sizzler for a punching bag, but Sizzler knew, beyond all certainty, that the world ran on intention, that accident and circumstance were mere illusions, and that a secret grand design, no matter how hidden, drove the earth and stars, the seas and skies. He didn't wonder how the storm came to be, but rather who had set the whole thing in motion. The wind beat against the sails in violent bursts that drove the ship trembling through rough waves. Dreary clouds drifted over the afternoon sun, spurred into action by sudden darkness. The crew scurried to their posts and braced against the impending storm. But Sizzler had bigger problems. "Hey," he called to the captain, who was analyzing the sky above. "I have a rock in my shoe." The captain stared him down in disgust, shook his head, and rushed past him.
"Well, he didn't seem to care much,"
Sizzler muttered. He wobbled on one foot among his harried shipmates, who readied the main deck for whatever may come. Sizzler would have helped, but the little rock was too much. How could anyone work with such an aggravation? Sizzler hopped up the stairs to the afterdeck. The helmsman paid no attention to him.
"Good day, sir,"
Sizzler tried.
"I have a problem, you see. Someone put a rock in my shoe, and it's troubling me."
The helmsman strained against the wheel and growled.
"Then take off your shoe and remove it, you imbecile."
Sizzler meditated on this.
"I could, yes, but that would be inconvenient."
The helmsman let the wheel slip into the flow of the next wave.
"A rock in your shoe is also inconvenient."
The helmsman's yell edged dangerously.
"Get out of my face before I have you flogged."
Sizzler considered the helmsman's reasoning and ignored his threat.
"I suppose you're right, sir,"
Sizzler said. The ship jolted, and he swayed off balance. The sea roared, and waves slammed the hull. The wood creaked at each vicious assault.
"The gods are angry,"
Sizzler said.
"At whomever put this rock in my shoe."
He stumbled into a boatswain, who was fixing a new knot to secure the rear mast.
"Excuse me, friend,"
Sizzler said, catching the taffrail.
"Maybe you can help me with my problem."
The boatswain lifted his head and pointed to the sky. "We all have problems right now. Why aren't you at your post?" The storm intensified, and the first hailstones crashed upon the deck. Lightning tumbled inside the clouds, flashes of magenta, violet highlights in a sea of gray. Cobalt bolts webbed above.
"Yes, I see,"
Sizzler grumbled.
"But I have a more immediate problem. A rock in my shoe, a troublesome one."
A perplexed frown crossed the boatswain's face. "How did you get a rock in your shoe? We've been at sea for months." A joyful spark burned in Sizzler's eyes.
"Aha! My thoughts precisely, sir. Personally, I think sabotage, but who would do such a thing? Especially to me."
The boatswain shrugged. "Worry about it later. Get to your post. We all need hands on deck." Sizzler nodded and stumbled to the quartermaster, who barked orders at the crew.
"Smartly there, maggots. Roll the guns inside. Cover the powder. Lock the ammunition."
The quartermaster stared at Sizzler standing in front of him on one foot.
"What in the seven hills are you doing? Get to your post right now."
"Yes, my good friend, I will soon. But I must solve an issue. You see,
Some scoundrel put a rock in my shoe, and it's causing me quite a bit of pain. I don't know what to do. Any ideas?
Veins bulged from the quartermaster's head.
How about you take your shoe off and give me the rock and I beat you to death with it?
Sizzler puzzled at the suggestion.
Why would the quartermaster propose such a cruel remedy to Sizzlup's problem? He was the victim. I don't think that's an appropriate solution to my problem, Sizzlup said. But thank you for trying.
He scampered away. With the quartermaster's continued shouts at the men behind him, Sizzlup lashed onto the handrail and held against the forces attempting to throw him overboard. The waves rumbled hungrily and smashed into the ship with numerous heavy blows. Sizzlup twisted back and studied the crew struggling with the rigging.
Which one of them put a rock in my shoe?
Clouds loomed directly above, and lightning crackled down. Fear flared in the men. Their lives teetered over the abyss of a watery grave. Doom came in a magenta lightning bolt. Hot white fury struck the port side. The wood shredded. Sizzlup dodged the lightning strike with an unsuspecting hop on this rock-free foot. But the ship listed, and he tumbled overboard into the cold, salty water. He watched lightning branch through the sky as he sank into the depths. Sizzlup thought to struggle, but the mystery of the rock culprit weighed him down. Who was it? His lungs burned common sense to cinders. He inhaled the piercing water, and his last thought swirled icily through his chest. That water, the ultimate life-giver, would be his end, seemed fittingly ironic. Sizzlup died with a perplexed expression and a rock in his shoe. What an annoyance. The storm passed. The crew assessed the damage and noticed that Sizzlup was no longer on board. The revelation didn't cause much bother among the crew. Most did little to hide their relief.
Looks like that fool finally went to Davy Jones's locker, said the quartermaster. He's lucky the sea got him before that cutlass did, said the captain. Damn fool will probably babble about the rock while you ran him through, Captain. Not even running him through would make that idiot shut up about his little rock.
The boatswain chuckled twice, but only twice. He ran his hand over his beard and reflected on strange little Sizzlup's last words. The boatswain turned and spoke to the entire crew. Who did put the tiny rock in his shoe? The cabin boy looked at the cook. The cook looked at the doctor. The doctor looked at the navigator. The navigator looked at the pilot. The pilot looked at the helmsman. The helmsman looked at the coxswain. The coxswain looked at the deckhand. The deckhand looked at the first mate. The first mate looked at the quartermaster. The quartermaster looked at the captain. And the captain looked back at the boatswain. Shrugged. No one seemed to know.